Hi, it's Ethan from Trippy Corner. In today's video, I'll be reviewing my Game Week 20 and looking ahead with some early thoughts for Game Week 21. Some notes on myself and Trippy Corner. To make the best quality judgments and give the highest quality analysis, ideas and suggestions, I watch a lot of the Premier League games in full, certainly at least 3 or 4 a week. For those I don't watch in full, I will watch the extended highlights, definitely the mini highlights at least. And yeah, I also watch manager interviews, player interviews, press conferences, all of that combined with a huge amount of data research. This all gives me a good foundation of knowledge to form my judgments. So yeah, that's just a bit of background on me and what you're receiving from tuning in. So, time of recording is Monday. We still have that Monday night fixture to go. I'm currently at 434k overall rank, which is a small red arrow, bit of a step back but nothing tragic. It could also turn green if tonight goes well for me. So, into the team so far. Raya got 3 and Gabriel blanked. Bit underwhelming to just get 5 from double Arsenal defence. It's certainly not the kind of results we pay the higher price for. However, that's where eye test is important. I watched the Brighton Arsenal game in full and there was a questionable penalty awarded to Brighton from which they scored their only goal. I don't think it was a penalty. If it wasn't awarded, I'm walking away with 12 points and possible bonus, so that's the kind of margins we're looking at here. That being said, Brighton did accumulate 1.52 XG in the game. Do Arsenal still have the best defence in the league? Yes. Do they look as good as they did last season? No. Ultimately, that comes down to a lot of things. They've rarely been in a place where the entire first choice lineup is fit and available. Fixture runs haven't been terrible, but they certainly haven't been kind. Do I think double Arsenal defence is still worth the money? Across the course of a season, yes. Raya might not get the most points, but you can bet he'll be up there. You could definitely play the cheap goalkeeper rotation strategy, transferring certain ones in and out in alignment with their fixtures. I just see that as a lot. I'd done it earlier in the season with Flecken and Fabianski. I felt a big pull to Port before his injury. Ultimately, with this, you're entering into fixtures where there's almost never a great clean sheet chance. I just prefer being safe, thinking long term. If I did move away from Raya, I'd probably go to Sells or Allison. I think they're both great choices. If you haven't got any of the 3, that's my recommended watch list. For me, it's just not a priority transfer right now. I'll be sticking with Raya. As for Gabriel, he's still the best defensive asset in the game for me. I plan on holding till season's end. And with regard to the point this week, I can judge it as more unfortunate than concerning. Anthony Robinson got 1. It can happen. I still think he's an excellent asset. He's passing the eye test. If you don't watch the game and you just see the 1 point, you will have doubts. If you watch the games, you'll see the attacking threat is still there. It's actually increasing. He's carrying out a lot of underlapping runs with Iwobi on the left side and essentially finishing some attacks positioned in that central forward position. It was a poor defensive display from Fulham, I will say that, but that is a rarity for this season. We've seen it against Wolves. That was kind of a Cunha masterclass though, and overall they've looked solid, and you can't expect a clean sheet every week with a team outside the top 4. Now, a big talking point for me has to be Trent. Throughout the season, I've erred on the side of caution when it comes to owning him. I sided against that caution on Saturday morning when I brought him in with 30 minutes to go before the deadline. He dropped an incredibly poor performance which came to 0 points. Now, he's a fantastic player with incredible attacking threat. He has the capability to put up strong defensive performances, but that defensive ability isn't as consistent as the attacking. We know that, it's nothing new. In the Man United game, he was definitely the weak link in Liverpool's defence. Robertson didn't look too good either. Virgil, Canate and Allison were all good in my opinion, but Trent was just poor all round, picked up a yellow and got subbed off for Conor Bradley, who, to add insult to injury, put in a really good performance to finish the game. So that's 0 points from Trent, and I don't know, is there maybe even doubt he starts over Bradley now? It's hard to say if I got this call right or wrong. I don't think 1 week is enough to form my judgment. I'm happy to hold him up until at least the double game week, really. I believe things happen for a reason. If I rolled my transfer and then watched this game, I feel like there's no way I'm bringing in Trent for game week 21. But if you ask me, is he capable of multiple returns in the next 3 or 4? And is he a great season-long hold? I would say yes. So because I've brought him in so soon, I feel like I'll hold for a bit. Since he is so highly owned too, the risk factor is less. It's not like I've got an underperforming differential in there, which I might actually have somewhere else in my team, but we'll get onto that. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with Trent. I don't think he loses his place in the team either. Minutes will probably be reduced now Bradley's back, but I'm happy to hold him till at least that double game week in 24-25. On the other side of my transfers, Anthony Gordon was a success, 7 points, an all-round good performance. He'll definitely be popping up onto a few managers' radars now. I think he's a good option. Clearly, that price range of 6 to like 8.5 mil is full of a lot of good options with no clear standouts, which is really good for the game in my opinion. It breaks up the template, and if I had to say my top 2 in that price range of 6 to 8.5, I'd say right now Gordon and Mbeumo are the best picks, very closely followed by Eze, then Luis Diaz and Sarr. Do I want to bring any of them in? Of course, yes. However, looking at my team, it makes more sense for me to roll this week. I already have Gordon, and for the others, the only midfielder I have that I would replace is Iwobi, and I don't fancy selling him before his next 2, which look great. Speaking of Iwobi, however, is this going to be a problem? For context, Iwobi is a player I rate highly. I think his link-up game is brilliant. His shooting is good. He's got pace, strength, Premier League experience. The current manager really likes him, and the minutes are pretty reliable in what is a strong side at the minute. I brought him in on game week 16, so off the back of a run where he had 29 points in 4 games, which is massive returns. He'd been on my radar for a while before that. I was looking to shift money and build up funds for Isak and Raya. So I brought him in for Brennan Johnson, and since bringing him in, he's actually blanked 4 of 5 games, and his 1 return was a clean sheet in a 0-0 draw against Southampton. I'm still happy with the transfer. I've been watching his games, and that potential for goals and assists is still there. Numbers back it up too. I don't think there's a need to transfer him out, especially before West Ham and Leicester, but it is somewhere I might look after the assistant managership, which I plan on playing in game week 24. I still think he's a good asset. He's probably not one to bring in right now, but definitely not one to sell if you've got him. I know there won't be too many who do. I checked the numbers and he's actually at 8.4 estimated ownership right now, so if you're one of them, salute to you. Well done for keeping the faith. I certainly plan on doing the same. I always like having a differential in there, but yeah, that's where I'm at. Back to the points. We then have Salah with 14, reliable as always. Palmer with 10, ticking away, definite hold. Isak got 7, strong performance again. There's not much I can say about him you don't already know. João Pedro, the silver lining of the Arsenal clean sheet wipeout was owning the man who wiped it out, and also picked up all 3 bonus points, so happy days, I guess. I did have thoughts on transferring him out. After some more thought and future game week planning, I think I'm going to stick with him for a bit. Chris Wood, at time of recording, it's Monday morning, so he is my last player to play. It's always nice having a player on the Monday Night Football. It adds that bit of excitement to end the game week. I play in a 5-a-side league on Monday nights, so usual routine is play there. My partner goes to yoga, who's in the room right now. Then afterwards we settle in at home together. I'll watch the game and she'll either watch it too or work on her art pieces. But yeah, back to the game week. I am currently on a red arrow by 4 points, so Chris Wood could save my game week. It's the second red arrow in a row, but there's actually no immediate danger signs in my team, and I'm still in the top 5%, so yeah, that's the game week. It is very early before the next deadline, but I do like to plan ahead, so here's my initial thoughts. This is how the team lines up currently for game week 21, and the temptation is very much there to make a transfer. You can see I've got 2.1 in the bank, and are there question marks over Iwobi and Trent? Yes. Are there problems to sort? No. Trent, I just don't feel comfortable selling so soon after bringing him in, right? One game definitely isn't enough to judge, and over the rest of the season, I think we can all pretty much guarantee he'll have more good games than bad. The risk of holding him isn't big either, as I explained with ownership. Then when it comes to the potential of Bradley starting over him that I mentioned, I don't think that's too much of a concern right now. To break that down further, there is the Carabao Cup game next for Liverpool. It's quite possible Bradley starts that, then Trent starts against Forest in the Prem. It's difficult to predict though. I would also point out that Bradley is fresh back from injury, so Slot might not rush him back into the team. Even when Trent comes off the bench, that can be a haul for him, like we've seen against Newcastle too. But yeah, maybe that's all wishful thinking. I just don't think there's a need to transfer him out right now, but we'll see as time goes. Briefly on Iwobi again, I have faith in him as a player. We know he can deliver. Marco Silva, the Fulham manager, really likes him. The game against Ipswich was an early sub, but aside from that, his minutes have been excellent. And like I said, I just don't feel comfortable selling a player before they play against two of the weakest defences in the league in West Ham and Leicester. To clarify, that's not the two weakest defences, but two of the weakest defences. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but even from an eye test standpoint, that's quite clear to see so far this season. Ultimately, I think the best course of action for me is to roll. The team as a whole looks good, some nice looking games in there, double Newcastle attack against Wolves at home, João Pedro away to Ipswich, Fulham double up at West Ham. Big one with Forest against Liverpool. I'm holding expectations on Trent. I think we all predict Salah getting something. Chris Wood is on my bench right now, but that definitely could change. In fact, it really definitely could. I would like to start him. I just don't know who to bring him in for. It would either be Rodgers, Iwobi or Pedro, right? And Rodgers missed the last game. He'll be very fresh. And although Everton games tend to be low scoring, he's a well-built player physically. And I think he'll test them where others haven't been able to. Even though the game might not be as transition-based, he'll be able to physically test that Everton defence in a way they might not have had up to now. So yeah, there's a chance for returns there. Iwobi, I want to give another chance. I have faith, especially with the fixtures. That's a big reason I brought him in. Then João Pedro, I think if we look at fixtures again, Ipswich are very likely to concede. Liverpool also likely, but less so. I'm working on probabilities. You could argue the fact that Forest might not score as many, but Chris Wood dominates their goal share, so if they do score, he'll likely be involved. I don't have the numbers for João Pedro's dominance of Brighton's goal share, but recently he has been picking up returns when Brighton score, so yeah, I mean, I guess if either do score, they'll both likely be involved. It's a tough one. I never like benching Chris Wood. If it's Wood or Pedro, I would usually always go Wood. It's just the fixtures are so dramatically different this week. Yeah, a little side note on Wood, he can definitely play every game. He returns in the tougher fixtures. I think it'll actually be the first time I bench him for this season, so it's going to be a tough call, probably a close to deadline decision for me. So yeah, closing out on the video, current rank is 434k before the Monday night fixture. I'm in the top 5% with 2.1 mil in the bank. Current plan is to roll a free transfer and hopefully I follow that through, take it to 2 free transfers, and yeah, come into game week 22 with a nice, is it game week 22? Yeah, I'm losing count, we're about halfway through the season now. So yeah, hopefully I'll be in a good position by then to start looking at my team and covering what could end up being a few fixes needed. So yeah, if you've made it this far, thank you for listening. I hope I've provided some value to you, and I'll be back soon with some more thoughts on Game Week 21.